I wanted to get something to do more gravel, bike packing, something I could ride on the road occasionally. So I came up with Salsa, makes something called a Cutthroat. Actually, it was designed to ride what's called a Tour Divide, which goes from Banff, Canada, all the way to Mexico, like 3,000
Wow.
miles. So, I want to do more adventure riding, which takes me to probably my longest ride was to date is probably 330 miles in 4 days. I rode across Maryland by myself in four
Wow.
days. And we're planning a trip to ride across Pennsylvania this summer, which has got like 28,000 feet of
It's a
climb
big
over a
state.
lot of mountains. Yeah, it's forget how many. I think it's 400 miles in four
So you ride through the
days.
Poconos?
No, this is more central. We'll start in New York and ride south to Maryland, but still,
Okay.
you're
Okay.
going through over a lot of mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to live in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia, and
Oh,
we've
really? That's where I grew
driven
up. I
across a
grew up in
couple
the
times.
Poconos, near the Poconos where I
I
grew
was
up.
gonna say, from your accent, I was like, I think you're from Delco or
Nazareth,
Pencil.
Pennsylvania, home of
Yeah.
Mario Andretti and Martin Guitar. That's where I'm
Okay.
from.
All right.
Yeah,
So okay. So I was spot on with my accent detection. So,
that's funny.
uh, yeah. So you said you did a 330-mile race in 4 days. How do
It was just
you?
decided to do it. I did the research. I had my
Yeah.
girlfriend drop me off in West Virginia, and I rode each day. A couple days I stayed at bed and breakfast. One night I camped. One night I stayed at my house because I was coming past my house halfway through the state.
Sure. Sure.
And then the last day, I think I rode 104 miles from Northeast Maryland all the way down the other side of Chesapeake Bay to Lewis, Delaware. And that was a funny story. I ran out of water after 60 miles, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I'm going through these chicken farms. These trucks with chickens were almost passing me, running me over. And I finally found this little restaurant in Delaware. I got some water. Thank God. I didn't think I was going to make it, but I made
So how do you prepare for a race like that? Do you like build
it.
up to it? How
Yeah.
how much time do you spend like mapping it out and
I'm a
physically and
YouTube
mentally
junkie. I
preparing for that?
research things. I'm very detail oriented. I like to research stuff. So, today online you can watch YouTube videos on anything, but typically I'll do the research, watch some other people that have ridden the area. Now, I mapped out my own ride in Maryland. I knew a lot of the roads, not all of them, but being from Maryland for a long time. But even that, I hit some unexpected things doing that trip. So you have to train. I ride typically 3, 4 days a week. I typically ride, depending on the time of year, anywhere from 70 to 150 miles a week is typical what I ride. And last year, I signed up this time of year to ride something called Unbound in Kansas. So you have to get in
What's
a
that
lot.
like? Yeah, tell us about
It's the
that.
largest gravel race in North America. So people come from all around the world to out in the middle of nowhere in Kansas. They have these gravel roads, wide open spaces, cattle running across the road, going through creeks. And you sign up and they have a 50, 100, and even a 350-mile gravel race that they race all night long through the night. No
Wow.
matter what, thunderstorms, lightning, whatever, you're out there riding. So I went in easy on the 50 mile. I think it took me 3 hours and so to do it, but it was one of the fastest rides I ever did. So I trained around here on a couple of mountains. It was a little hilly, but the thing is, there's really sharp gravel. A lot of people get flat tires. You got to change your own tire if you get a flat, to get to the finish. You have to hydrate. That's another thing. You have to learn to take in water and food while you're riding when you do these long rides so that you
Yeah,
don't what
yeah.
they call bonk or, run out and cramp or anything like that. So there's a lot of science behind it. And again, just over years of experience of knowing what to do, I automatically drink every 10 minutes or, I drink, 26 ounces every 15 miles. So,
Oh, okay. So there's
two
some
bottles, I
real
can go
like
30 miles before I have to stop and refill up, or if I do a
okay. So
long
there's some
trip,
real math going
yeah, I
in
had
there,
like
right?
5 bottles of water, so I could go 60 miles without stopping. Like I said, but then I ran out of water at 60 miles because there was no water to get. That's true.
This might be TMI, but are you peeing while you're still on the bike, or are
No,
you
believe it or
stopping for
not,
that? Okay.
you're sweating it out is what it is, especially in the summertime. It
Okay.
just goes out your
Yeah.
pores. I mean, eventually you're going to stop at some point, but it's not like because you're over drinking, you're stopping more to go, but it pretty much sweats out of your pores.
Okay. Because I have a buddy that does ultra marathons,
Oh yeah,
and
it's
he's told
crazy.
me that people will just pee while they're
Yeah,
while
don't
they're
do that. No, I'll
mid
stop.
stride.
No,
You
I'll
know,
stop.
they'll
in a
yeah they'll only stop if they have to
in a
poop.
cornfield or
But
something, depending
yeah,
where you're
yeah,
at.
exactly, or in the mountains somewhere. Uh, I want to talk about the mental aspect of that. I mean, obviously, the physical fatigue is, I'm sure a big issue with cramps and just
Yeah.
dealing with everything, being on a bike for 30, 40, 50 miles at a time.
Right.
What is that mental aspect like? Are you listening to music? Are you listening to a podcast, an audiobook?
I
Like,
used
how do
to
you stay
years ago,
focused?
I would have earbuds, but I found it unsafe, especially on the road. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
occasionally if I want to have an odd day, I'll stick my earbuds in. But now I ride on trails in the woods. I'll take my chances with the trees versus cars. I broke 5 ribs on the right side a couple of years ago. This is a funny story. So my girlfriend's in the hospital, right? So I stayed overnight in the hospital. She said, "Go home and feed the cat." All right. September, 70 degrees. I go home, feed the cat. I'll go for a short ride. I didn't even get a football field from the house. I hit a pothole, flipped over my handlebars, and
Oh no.
broke 5 ribs. I'm in a different hospital than she is. She was not happy when she got out of the hospital because I wasn't there to take care of her. I'm in another hospital with 5 broken ribs.
Yeah, that
So,
that might be a deal breaker.
but back to your question about it is mental when you get in these longer rides. I typically ride 30, 40 miles on a clip most days when I'm riding. But if I'm doing 60, 50, or I'm doing a race, even with Unbound, that's nonstop, 50 miles. You're going as fast as you can. So you have to be drinking. You have to. So I practiced last year being down in my drops because I knew it was going to be windy out there. And that helped me a lot. So I knew what the circumstances were going to be of the race, and I practiced it for 6 months to get in shape. Actually, my co-host on the podcast, Hank, was my first coach to my first 100-mile bike ride, which we did around Lake Tahoe. So we did it with Team in
That must have
Training.
been so beautiful. That
Oh,
that
it's
area is
gorgeous.
just gorgeous.
So,
Yeah.
I had to raise like 5,000 miles in it. And then I got a free trip out to Tahoe. But I met Hank. He was like a coach that we worked with for, I think, 5 months. So we were training. I'd never done 100 miles. I don't think I did more than 50. So there I was eating jelly beans right around Lake Tahoe. That was my nutrition back then. But, learn how to drink and train and ride. But back to your question about mental, I mean, it goes back to why I ride. Meditation. I always joke, I ride to eat. I like to eat good food. So
Sure,
riding,
sure.
if you're exercising, you can eat better. You still want to eat healthy, obviously. But the other reasons I ride is my back is screwed up because I had a motorcycle. I've only ever been to the hospital twice in my life. Once with the 5 broken ribs, and once when I was 26. I came home from Bermuda. My brother gave me his rocket ship motorcycle. I went for a ride. I went over the handlebars of that 116 miles an hour. I
Oh
rolled
wow.
down the highway. Didn't break anything, but lost a lot of skin. So I always had a bad back for a while. I went to a chiropractor for years, but I found this is really interesting. This summer, I was riding with 2 doctors from North Carolina. They were up here riding on the CNOs, friends of mine, and one was a back surgeon. I didn't know him, but I did after the trip. And I said, "Hey, why is it that when I ride my bike, my back doesn't hurt? But if I don't ride for 3 weeks, I get nasty and my back hurts."
Tightens up. Yeah.
Yeah. He says it's because the endorphins from riding a bike stimulate the muscle, the growth around your spine, and it strengthens it. If you don't ride, you're not getting those endorphins. It's not strengthening the muscles around your spine, and you're going to have issues. So, people with back issues, which are a lot of Americans these days, bike riding can be really good for you. And bike riding is also good for runners that can't run anymore. They got knee issues or other issues.